Hi, this is Carl Coates, Division Chair for Fine Arts, Social Studies, and World Language at Sandburg High School, and I am interviewing a Sandburg alum who has followed her passion into the world of arts, and we're going to ask her some questions today. This is Kelly Roche. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, everyone.
So first, let's go back to when you were in high school. Tell us about some of the courses you took here at Sandburg.
So I graduated in 2008, and I took maybe the majority of the art classes offered at that time. I can remember, of course, starting in foundation. I think it was called Intro to Art. Through the guidance of Mr. Engelhard, I did my drawing 1 and 2. I believe I took a painting class. I focused in ceramics and sculpture. And then I ended up doing independent studies and AP art, focusing in ceramics and sculpture altogether.
So you pretty much took it all, it sounds like.
I know there are a few others dabbled in there, maybe a multimedia. I don't think I focused in the digital art, which is funny because now so much of my career is digital, but truly covered the foundational arts and crafts of the traditional fine arts at Sandburg.
And then you followed up with a BFA from University of Illinois, is that correct?
Yes. I had considered going to a private art school to continue studying ceramics and sculpture. But then through so much of the exploration and then collaborative discussion with the other students in AP and in pursuing independent studies and learning what they were going to focus in college, I ended up landing on going to the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, because they had both ceramics and industrial design. So I could really use that freshman year of college to explore further before really finding my path for a major. And then I landed in industrial design. It was just a really interesting field once I learned more about it on campus.
Can you talk about that a little more?
So industrial design is a career focused around the product design of hardware. Right now, I like to focus on hardware because there's such an explosion of design within the software and the UX side. Industrial design, which formerly was referred to as product design, is now really the architecture of products. This is consumer products, anything from furniture to automotive to consumer electronics, which is what I work in currently, appliances. It's really anything physically tangible that you can go buy. Most likely an industrial designer has worked collaboratively with engineers to create it.
Okay. And that led you to your current job, and that is what?
I am a color material finish designer. I work on an industrial design team at Fitbit.
Yay, Fitbit. Woo.
Yay, Fitbit.
And what do you do there?
So I majored in industrial design, but ended up finding my niche later after graduation in color material finish, which is a supporting role on an industrial design team. And it works strategically on defining not just the material, and then of course the finish, the texture of it, but the color palettes. And we do this by studying sociocultural trends, analyzing them through your brand. We work with marketing, we work with engineering and design to really look at the holistic story of a product and what is most appropriate for the consumers and the interest of the time that it will launch.
So how does your job satisfy you, creatively speaking?
Well, my job has a really good mix of not just screen time, not just digital creation. I work in a color material finish lab, which stores leather samples, plastic samples, Pantone books, Coloro books, samples of innovative materials that we don't even have an idea of how we're going to use them yet, but just inspiration. Maybe the library will have just inspirational products, home and housewares to collect. And we spend time sorting these materials, building mood boards, building material trays for inspiration in order to concept for maybe the future next generation of watches or trackers that we're working on. And then of course we visualize that in the digital space.
Hey, that sounds like fun. It sounds like you kind of get to play around. I mean, I know there's a job, of course, and hard work, but that does sound really appealing.
No, it's a lot of fun because it's very collaborative. It's not at all sitting at your desk working alone. It's very much collaborating with all different types of designers on one idea and one product.
What about some everyday challenges that you face in your current job?
Well, current everyday challenges have to do with the landscape we're in due to the pandemic and COVID. We currently are no longer physically together, so we're finding ways to collaborate through the digital space. We use overnight shipping and courier services to look at our physical samples and our products in real time. I love being able to go to work every day, even if it's just at home, but by having a good balance of meetings, strategy, concepting and creative, and then just fun trend research and just talking about what's going on in the world in general.
What's going on in the world in general besides COVID?
Um,
What's
in,
coming
in
next in the Fitbit world?
in terms of Fitbit, well, a lot of what we study is what are other companies doing, not just in wearables and watches and smartwatches, but what are people doing in the health space? What is innovative in the health space and how can we bring it into the home? How can we bring it to the consumer? And then I think about it through the lens of color, material, and finish and what's going to make someone find that appealing and an expression of their self, which ultimately would be why they would want to wear one or purchase one.
So, kind of our last question here. What advice would you give to your younger self? You go back to 2006, 2007, 2008, and you ran into Kelly. What would you say to her?
My my advice to my former self would be to expand. Take as many different classes as you possibly can, even outside of what you think your focus is going to be. I think the most advantageous thing I could recommend to my former self would just to be take in things that are uncomfortable, classes that are uncomfortable, whether they be engineering or math classes or classes outside of your cultural study. It's all going to relate to your future career because it's just going to broaden your mind. And there's no better time than high school or college to do those.
Great advice. All right. Thank you very much, Kelly. Thanks for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.